Welcome to John Keells IT Reimagine Your Future podcasts. During these podcasts, we'll be discussing industry trends, transformation points, and thought leadership to help you stay relevant in the ever-changing landscape. Today, we are discussing with two industry professionals from aviation industry about the challenges and the possibilities that holds for the aviation industry. John Keells IT has a notable history in the aviation industry which dates almost 20 years. Rukshan, I think thank you for joining us first and foremost for this podcast. And one of the key conversations that I've been wanting to have is how relevant are the micro level factors impacting the world when it comes to this industry. I would assume it is very high. Would you care to share some of your thoughts about how the macro level environment is impacting the airline and aviation industry as a whole?
Yes, the macro environment consists of multiple uncontrollable factors. So it could be a country's political situation, economic crisis, fluctuating fuel prices, or even the environmental factors. So all this will affect the aviation industry directly or indirectly. And we could all agree, I think, that aviation industry get affected to a far greater extent than the other industries. Analysis of the macro environment is very important in making an organization's strategic decisions. So even a good analysis will reveal the opportunities and the threats for an organization as well. So how I see it is analysis and understanding of the organization macro environment is the most critical point.
So Rukshan, do you think this ongoing pandemic must have also had a huge amount of impact on the industry itself, right?
Exactly. So, the aviation industry is not new to crisis. As we know from the history itself, the industry has gone through many tests. And if I touch upon this current global epidemic, so as we understand, the situation is unprecedented. And by far, it is the biggest threat the industry has faced ever. So, having said all that, I strongly believe the industry is resilient enough to get through this and come out strong. So that's where we all has to pitch in, like the professionals in the industry, to do our part.
So having said that, I also a firm believer that any industry, even though it goes through a bit of a downfall, it always bounces back. One of the things is that of course John Keells IT has a very comprehensive solution for the industry, and of course we call it Avinta as our brand name. So can you explain a little bit about maybe the history of the product and how what it really does from that huge collection of solutions that are required to make an airport or an airline work? What does that Avinta actually do in the space?
Okay, so Rohan, we came up with our Avinta solution back in 2003-2004. Avinta is actually our product portfolio for aviation solutions. And if I talk about the core product is the departure control system. The Evinta DCS can cover the airport counter check-in to web check-in, kiosk check-in, the whole spectrum. And very recently we even came up with the contactless check-in process as well. And the DCS is fully certified to run on any major CUTE environment and can handle non-CUTE very remote airports as well with very minimum infrastructure. So it can handle both situation in the spectrum as well. And if I talk about the rest of the solution in the product suite, we cover from passenger services to airport operation, passenger check-in, load control, resource planning. So all this we cover through our product portfolio.
Great, Rukshan. I think you touched something about contactless. We'll come to that a bit later. But I mean, why? I mean, this is a very complicated solution as it is. And I think it is obvious that John Keells IT is not the first player in the market. There are other players in the market, and I'm sure they have been in the market for a longer time. Rukshan, would you like to care to comment about how does Avinta differentiate and compare to other players in the market, specifically in terms of maybe functionality or any other benefit?
Well, first of all, Evinta DCS is 100% cloud-based, right? So the majority of the setting up and configuration can be done remotely. You don't need a on-ground person to do that. And then the very user-friendly graphical user interface, where a normal user can figure out the operation in a very short period of time. So I would say the training time is very minimal. And then the implementation modes. While Evinta DCS can be implemented for an airline to handle multiple airports, it can be also implemented for an airport to handle multiple airlines as well, right? And if I take another area to cover on the functionality, where we have the Evinta DCS on 3 implementation modes. One is the hosted solution, and the other one is the local DCS solution, where in case the airport or the airline want to retain their data within the local network, we have the local DCS solution. And then we have the backup solution, where it can synchronize with the primary DCS on real time and be on the background. So whenever there is a primary DCS outage, it can seamlessly cut over.
Wow, that's great. So, I mean, with all of these great feature set that you have in Avinta, I know that you all have been working hard on creating some very relevant innovations under the current circumstances in the world. And I think referring back to the point you made about contactless, can you tell a little bit about why you came up with that and what does it really mean to a airport or an airline using Avinta solution?
Yeah. So with the current situation, everyone knew we were heading towards a new norm. Although we do not have an exact picture what the new norm is, now we have a set of guidelines. So with the social distancing and whatnot, so we are all coming up with different solutions. So as IT professionals in the industry, we have to reimagine, reinvent and accelerate those technological innovations towards the recovery of the industry. So what we did was we came up with this contactless solution, where at the airport the passenger does not have to get in contact with the agents or not even touch a kiosk machine. So we came up with the solution while keeping in mind the cost factor.
Right.
I want to put emphasis on that, because we did not want to put more burden on the already affected industry. So we came up with this solution where it could use the existing infrastructure at the airport.
Fantastic. So I mean, you know, with all of this going on, you all are continuously you are continuing your innovation cycle for the product and the solution. How do you see the immediate future or the short term, mid-term kind of future of the industry, and how do you think that will impact as a technology professional working in this industry with Avinta?
Aviation industry is not new to crisis, Rohan. It has gone through multiple situations in the past as well.
Right.
But we all have to agree this is a different situation. This is a global epidemic and the situation is unprecedented. And by far this is the biggest test the airline industry has faced ever. But having said all that, I strongly believe the industry is resilient enough to get through this and come out strong. That's where we also have to come in, where we have to play our part. As IT professionals, like I said earlier, we have to drive our technological innovations towards the recovery of the industry. We all have to do our part, because we can't imagine a world without air travel.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
World without air travel would be dull and empty.
I would agree with you. That's a good way of putting it. So, I mean, a couple of things I wanted to ask you is the fact that, obviously, I think we all need to remain very positive throughout this process and whatever is going on about airport and aviation, etc. But if I am someone who is in the decision making of a airline or a aviation, what would be the 2-3 things, reasons why I would want to pick up the phone and call you or call someone at John Keells IT to speak a little bit about Avinta?
Well, Ron, when we came up with the solution, that was back in early 2003, 2004. So we are fairly new to the industry compared to our biggest competitors. So when we came up with the solution, we didn't have any baggage with us. So we were able to implement the latest technologies, latest frameworks, latest functionality, where other vendors were having difficulty incorporating into the existing solution.
Right.
So we came up with all this. So and currently what we are doing is we are passing on that benefit to the airports and airlines.
So Latif, thank you for joining. I mean, we would be, it's an absolute pleasure to speak to someone with so much of experience in the airport and aviation industry and who has been one of the leaders, architects in developing an amazing solution called Avinta. And we'll speak a little bit about that solution a bit later, but would you care to explain a little bit about your background and how you started on the journey with John Keells IT of building this Avinta solution?
Okay, thank you for opportunity, and let me brief my experience. Actually, I started my career in 1995, I think.
Okay.
So at that time, I was working for a software company in Sri Lanka. Then I deployed to a company in Malaysia with the joint ventures, and I was there in Malaysia for 4 years. That's nothing to do with the aviation. So I was just getting knowledge in the IT and the software field. Then once I came back to Colombo from Malaysia, I joined John Keells Computer Services at that time in 1999. So as soon as I joined John Keells, they put me into a team who are developing softwares for aviation industry, one of the major airline in the Middle East sector. So I was, from that time onwards, I was working in the airline domain. Then after that, 2 years I was in Colombo with that project, and then I deployed to Middle East for that same airline for on-site development, on-site application development. So I was there for a couple of years. Then I came back after that, back to Colombo. Then I continue my career in John Keells from that time until today. It's going to be more than 20 years in John Keells itself.
Incredible story. So Latif, I mean, when you started this journey, and of course, we started building this solution called Avinta, which I think, would you care to explain what Avinta really means for Alam? Because Avinta is our name that we use at John Keells IT.
Okay, everyone must be asking what is Avinta.
Yeah.
Actually, the meaning of Avinta is have a pleasant journey from Sri Lankan transcript language.
Oh, nice.
So that's the name what we got as Avinta. It's so most of the people might ask what is Avinta, and it's like a half circle logo as Avinta logo. So that's the meaning. Have a pleasant journey.
Nice.
Its background, its meaning, like that.
Sure. So in terms of the solution, what can an airport and aviation customer expect when they talk to you about saying what exactly is Avinta is capable of delivering for me?
Avinta, because most of the people coming to get a solutions, they must be expecting whatever the functionalities what they carry out at the airport in the day-to-day operations, whether that will cover in the Avinta. Yes, Avinta will cover same operation what we are currently operating in the airport, and more than that as well. So Avinta have the facility with covering the business related activity, and outside the business related activity, some of the management related activity and the monitoring operations as well. So it will cover both parties.
Right. So, tell us a bit more in depth about the technology stack for the functionality and feature set of what Avinta is currently delivering to customers.
Avinta is a web-based solution. So as far as it's cloud-based, so we have the solutions running in the a cloud, and it's available for you to use the system any given time, any airport. As far as we have the internet connections, within a couple of hours time, system will be available for you to access it. As far as we have all the devices available in the airport. So it's a web-based solution. So we have the web-based solution hosted environment, and we have the local operation as well, local DCS as well. So it's have optional functionalities, like if you want to have for primary DCS as a cloud-based, yes we can. If you want to have it as a local DCS, that one also we have it. And if you want to have it as a backup DCS, that functionality also we have it as a Avinta product. But at the same time, if you are having the functionalities and the features you can monitor all your Avinta operational activities outside the airport in your mobile phone or in your laptop. Anywhere you are, you can monitor all the operational activities, how the operation going in the airport. And if you want to take some necessary activities or necessary precautions, you can do that as well. So we are giving that functionality as well. So those are some key features in the Avinta.
So Latif, do you think with the current pandemic and so many other things, I'm sure that the airline industry will come back a little bit, but do you think some of these functionality and feature set will still be relevant in the time to come?
It yes, or it may be no.
Okay.
Because for example, we'll say if you are a small operational airport, you won't have proper infrastructure. So
Right.
at that time, still you might use the standard day-to-day activities what is currently using, checking the passenger and boarding the passenger using manually. But if you are taking as a airport having the good infrastructure and latest technologies, this operational functionality might completely get changed.
Right.
Because it can be operational as the contactless completely. So there may be differences depending on the airport and depending on the regions what they are going to operate. These operational activities might get changed.
Right. You spoke about contactless. I know it's one of the very, very new features that we have introduced to Avinta. Would you care to elaborate and explain a bit more about what this contactless means for this solution?
Yes, contactless is like definitely contactless, because as of now, if you are taking a operational activity in the airport for a passenger, they will come to the counter and they will give the boarding pass, they will give the ticket and the passports, everything to the check-in staff, and check-in staff will do the necessary checks, and he will issue the baggage tags and the boarding pass, and he will go to the boarding gate again, and he will hand over the boarding pass and the passport against to verify. Then only passenger can board the aircraft. So that is the current operation. So contactless, what we are designed, what we are processed is as of now most of the airlines have web check-in. So Avinta also having web check-in functionality. It can be for airline or it can be for the airport. So passenger can do the checking prior to come to the airport. He will do the web check-in from home or his mobile phone or laptop. He will do the web check-in and he will come to the airport. Then half of this operation is completed. The next part of the operation is if he have the baggages, how he going to get the baggage tags. So we reduce the interactions with the agents for that functionality as well. So in the airport, we will have the options to have a kiosk machines with the devices. So passenger can come to the kiosk machine and he can scan the information using his mobile phone he can generate the baggage tags from the airport, whatever the number of pieces he is having. He can generate the baggage tags. He can tag the baggage by himself, and he can take the baggage to the baggage drop counter. He just drop the baggages, then the ground staff, operational staff will just verify the weight, and he will update the system necessary information. The baggage information is captured. Then the next option is passing the security. The security is handled by the separate entity in the airport. So once the security is got through, passenger will go to the boarding gate, and passenger can board by himself. He can swipe the passport, or he can verify the passport, and he can scan the boarding pass. The system will automatically cross check whether the passport is valid with the boarding pass. If it's valid, then boarding agent can give the confirmation, yes, this passenger can board. So those are the operational changes what we have done for this contactless. So from the generation from the check-in boarding pass to boarding to the aircraft is completely contactless as per our solution.
Great, Latif. So one last question about the future. What do you think about the future of the industry, and where we can, what are the things that you can add about the industry from the technology standpoint?
In future, operations, it might take time. Airport operational is not easy, so it will take time to incorporate all the technologies and getting the airport passenger operation as contactless. So using the face recognitions, or the boarding with the face recognitions, or the different technology. So with those technology enhancements, in future airports might be completely contactless, and the security verifications, everything can be done only at the boarding level, or the boarding gate, or the immigration security areas. Those locations will be the locations where security verifications going to be done in the airport.
Thank you, Latif. I think it's a tremendous, and one of the as a key architect of the solution. Thank you very much for speaking to us, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.